We're going to get started today with the Johnson County Meat Goat Show. So we are going to be having our first class come in the ring. This is going to be our market division. We're going to start with lightweights for the meat, weather, or does. Coming in, we have Brooke Bowersox, we have Carter Tomash, Kean Curtis, and Carter Tomash. Our judge for today is Chris Spence. He was raised in Medill, Oklahoma, where his family had a cow, calf, and seed stock operation. Once Chris got into 4-H, he started showing sheep, goats, and cattle. He was a high school All-American livestock judge, placing 9th at the NAILE in 2011. After high school, he went on to judge at Redlands Community College, where his highlights of the year was getting high individual at the Fort Worth Stock Show. Chris now resides in Ames and will be moving back to take over the family operation. So currently in the ring, as I said, this is our lightweight meat, weather, or doe division.
First off, I'd like to say what an honor and a privilege it is to be here in Johnson County. Heard a lot of great things about the competitiveness, not only of the animals, but also of the exhibitors here. And really, this class kind of exemplifies that. I think there's a lot of good quality animals out here. Went in and started out with one of the more taller framed weathers right here. One that also just has the most meat animal shape, especially down the rack. He doesn't get you disappointed one bit. He's the freshest in his handling as well. One that meets your hand with the most bulge of the leg. Ideally, you would like to see this guy be a little bit wider based, built wider from the ground up, just wider from stifle to stifle. But nonetheless, in terms of the class, he's definitely going to be the one that if sent to the rail right now, he'd have the most pounds of usable product. Moving on to our second place. This is another weather that you could definitely appreciate the length and skeletal extension that this guy has. He is a little bit wider made, especially from the front end up. Where he kind of disappoints you a little bit, he's not as fresh over the rack as you'd like to see. Definitely doesn't meet your hand with as much bulge to his muscle. You definitely would like to make him overall stouter made and fresher to move up any higher in the class. Moving on to our third place, this is a wether that comparatively to the contemporary, definitely wider at the point of the shoulders, really continues that progression, getting wider down the boulder square top. One, just overall, you just need to see this guy just be more powerfully constructed. Overall, just be more expressive in his muscle shape to move up any higher in the class. Then moving on to our next wether. This is definitely one of the more attractive wethers of the class. One that ties in higher and tighter from neck to shoulder. One that's definitely clean through that chest floor and deeper in the flank. Overall today, he just needs to have more pounds of product, definitely fresher over the touch, and just overall just needs some more time to move up any higher in the class. But overall, very good class. It's going to give him a nice round of applause.
Currently coming into the ring, we have our medium weight in the market division for the Meat Weather or Joe's. In the ring, we have Cameron Martin, we have Arlie Lorak, we have Avery Shalla, and Caitlin Martin.
Moving on to our next class, definitely got two pairs right here that really kind of sort themselves out pretty easily. Went ahead and started out with this young lady's weather out here, just purely based off of meat animal shape. Definitely has the most pounds of product, is no doubt the heaviest muscled, stoutest made of the class. One that meets your hand with the most bulge, and is also the widest from stifle to stifle when you get behind this guy. I think if you really continue to push him, he's definitely going to be one that, you get up to a little bit heavier of a weight, he's definitely going to be competitive at some pretty big shows. Moving on to our next weather. This is one that really kind of follows suit in terms of type and kind. Just overall, you need to see him be more powerfully constructed, really to move up any higher in the class. But I think comparatively to his contemporaries, he's definitely one of the more stouter made, heavier muscled of the class. Definitely of the class, he's one of the fresher handling as well. Just overall, you just need to see him have overall more pounds of product and just be built wider from the ground up to move up any higher in the class. Moving on to our third place. This is definitely one of the longer, more skeletally extended weathers of the class. Definitely one that ties in higher and tighter from neck to shoulder and really kind of continues that trend. Just overall today, you need to see this guy. He needs to be a little bit more fresher to the touch as well. But more importantly, he just needs to be stouter made and heavier muscle to move up any higher in the class. Moving on to our next weather. This is definitely another one that you can appreciate from the profile, being very clean through that neck and into that chest floor and being deep flanked. He just gets overpowered today. He definitely just needs to be wider from stifle to stifle, meet your hand with more bulge of leg to move up any higher in the class. But overall, very good class. Let's go ahead and give the kids a nice round of applause.
The results of our medium weight meat, weather, or doe. We had first with a purple going to Avery Shala. We have second with a blue going to Arlie Lorak. Third with a blue going to Caitlin Martin. And fourth with a blue going to Cameron Martin. Now coming into the ring, we have our heavyweight class. We have in this class, we have Kylie Grieve, we have Avery Shala, we have Keenan Curtis, Kylie Grieve, and William Rockefeller.
So move on to our heavier weight weathers, ones that are getting a little bit closer to the optimum market weight. Went ahead and started out with the freshest to the touch weather right here. One of the more moderately framed weathers as well. One that's really just built wide from the ground up. Really one that you can appreciate just how much substance of bone that this guy stands on. He's definitely going to have a lot of pounds of product from that last rib back. Ideally, you would like to see this guy just have a little bit more length and skeletal extension, but I think that's being nitpicky on a good quality weather. Moving on to our second place, no doubt this guy is a little bit longer, more skeletally extended. Definitely going to have a lot of usable product from that last rib back into that hind saddle. Really where this guy kind of disappoints you, he's not as fresh as you'd like to see. You definitely would like to see this guy be harder handling and just really kind of progressively get fresher as you go down this guy. But nonetheless, he's definitely a good weather that's going to bring some profitability for this young lady. Moving on to our next doe. This is another doe. I really like this doe. I'd be curious to see what she would have done in a breeding show. I think she's got a lot of depth and spring of rib. Just today, you definitely would like to see her be a little bit more fresher and harder to the touch as well. She's definitely got some width over the, at the point of her withers, and really kind of continues to progressively get wider. You just would like to see her be fresher, and then really just make her wider from stifle to stifle and be deeper in her twist. And moving on to our next weather. This is a weather that really kind of was a tricky one for me. One that doesn't have nearly as much muscle as you'd like to see, but he's one of the top 2 freshest handling weathers of the class. Ideally, you would like to see this guy just meet your hand with more bulge and muscle and just overall be a little bit heavier muscled and stouter made to move up any higher in the class. Moving on to our next weather, this is definitely one of the pounds heavy weathers, ones with the most weight per day of age. I really think that kind of works to his disadvantage. He's definitely one of the narrower made goats of the class, one that you definitely would like to see be heavier muscled, stouter made, and just be overall more powerfully constructed to move up any higher in the class. But otherwise, still a weather that's definitely going to bring some profitability for this young man. So let's go ahead and give this class a good round of applause.
The results of our heavyweight class, we had first with a purple going to Avery Shalla. We had second with a purple going to Kylie Grieve. We had third with a blue going to Kean Curtis. We had fourth with a blue going to Kylie Grieve. We've got fifth with a blue going to William Rockefeller. We are now going to have our championship drive for our champion meet animal.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Holler if you need more. Yeah, if you need help, Mr. President can help push them along.
Coming into this championship drive, first in our lightweight division went to Kean Curtis. Second was exhibited by Carter Tomash. From our medium weight, first is exhibited by Avery Shalla, and our reserve, our second, by Arlie Lorak. Then we have from our heavyweight, first being exhibited by Avery Shalla, and our reserve by Kylie Grieve. Our champion meat weather trophy is sponsored by Hubbard Feeds Incorporated.
let's go ahead and give our market exhibitors a nice round of applause. I think all of these exhibitors do a very good job of showing their animal off. And I really think that they're really doing a good job of highlighting the South African boar breed and why it's such a great breed and why it's been so popular over the past few years. It's definitely, it's a breed ever since that I was young, and being in the International Boar Goat Association, it's just something that really kind of was near and dear to my heart. So I think if any of these kids are really going to continue to grow in the boar goat and just really kind of continue to grow into the goat industry as a whole, this is definitely a great foundation to really just to, continue to grow and really continue to produce good quality livestock. You produce animals like this, you're definitely going to be good in your profitability. So without further ado, I'm going to go out and I'm going to slap the champion overall. As we bring in our second place from our overall champion, another boar that you can definitely appreciate, just really even for his weight of age, just how much pounds of product he's got. Definitely, I think on the lighter side of the middleweight and on to the back, definitely lot of potential here in these weathers. Just definitely need to push them and definitely get them closer to that market ready. But I think overall, from a show standpoint, a profitability standpoint, all of these weathers definitely have some good potential for them. So I'm going to go out and select our overall reserve.
The results of our champion meat drive for the market side, we had our champion being exhibited by Avery Shalla. That was from the medium weight division, and our reserve also by Avery Shalla from the heavyweight division. Coming into the ring, we have Arlie Lorak. We have Claire Kusharski. We have Kian Curtis and Arlie Lorak.
Moving on to our breeding does, definitely some differences in type of kind. Went and started out with the doe with the more weight per day of age, and this young man's right here. One that you get your hands on this female in terms of her width really doesn't disappoint you. One of the two bolder sprung, deeper sided females of the class as well. She's definitely the stoutest boned, stands on more as the most substance of bone, and one that gets around the ring with some ease, definitely in terms of her structural soundness. She's definitely got that there. You probably would like to see her just be a tick heavier muscled, especially be deep in her twist, and that's definitely where the second place wins, but just purely on a weight per day of age, really just kind of rises her to the top. Moving on to the second place doe, definitely one that's really attractive, really ties in higher and tighter from neck to shoulder, really feminine about that head, really clean through that neck. You just would like to see this female be a little bit leveler from hooks to pins, and just overall have a little bit more weight per day of age. I think if you definitely get her up to a little bit closer of an age of the first place, there's definitely no doubt in my mind that she's definitely competing. Moving on to our third place, this is definitely one of the more taller fronted, growthier made does of the class, one that you could definitely appreciate the length and skeletal extension this female has. Just in order for her to move up any higher, you definitely would like to see her be powerfully constructed, built wider from the ground up, and overall just stand on a little bit more substance of bone to move up any higher in the class. Moving on to our next doe, this is definitely a doe you just really got to appreciate how feminine this female is, really clean to that neck and that chest floor, and definitely deep in her flank. One of the more bolder sprung, deeper sided females of the class as well. Just today, she just gets overpowered. She definitely needs to overall just have more weight per day of age, give this female some more time to move up a little bit higher to the rest of the class, and I definitely could see her competing for the top spot. But overall, very good class to talk about. Let's go ahead and give them a nice round of applause.
Our results from our first class, we had first with a purple going to Kean Curtis, second with a purple, Arlie Lack, third with a blue, Claire Kusharski, and fourth with a blue, Arlie Lorak. Currently in the ring, we have our second class of junior does. In this class, we have Cheyenne Rockefeller, we have Robert Mead, we have Cameron Martin, and we have Delaney Boacek.
Moving on to our next class of does. Went ahead started out with a doe that's definitely different in her type and kind. Definitely one that's a little bit more moderately framed. But she's also one of the does that's really attractive from the profile, especially when she gets around the ring. She definitely takes a longer, truer stride. Definitely has a more correct and angular slope to her shoulder. Where you would like to fix this female is just a little bit, just make her heavier muscled. She just really needs to meet your hand with more bulge to her leg, and overall just be wider from stifle to stifle. And that's really kind of where the second place does kind of overtake this female. Definitely one that is a little bit wider gauged and wider based. Where she kind of disappoints you, she's not nearly as deep in her twist as you'd like to see. But nonetheless, she's also a little bit more of a taller fronted female. I just think today to move up any higher in the class, she definitely needs to get around the ring with a little bit more ease. Definitely one that isn't as strong in her pasterns as I would like to see. But nonetheless, I think that she's a good doe. They'll be able to go back in a good operation, whether it's commercial or show, be very successful. Moving on to our third place, this is another doe that's a little bit taller fronted, growthier made. Really where she kind of disappoints you is her finish. I definitely would like to see her just to be a little bit heavier on the finish. I think she's getting a little thin for me. Whenever I look at my females, I want them to have some finish because I know that they're going to go back into an operation and they're going to have to feed somebody else, not themselves. They're going to have to feed their kids. So they need to definitely have some finish, definitely put some weight on her, and I think I could definitely see her moving up in the class. And moving on to our next doe, this is a doe that you can just really appreciate from the profile how pretty she is. She's definitely one of the cleanest through that neck into that chest floor. Just overall, the pounds of products just really killing her. She just definitely needs to have more weight per day of age to move up any higher in the class. But nonetheless, a good class. Let's go and give the kids a nice round of applause.
Our results from Class 2 for the junior does, we had first with a purple being exhibited by Delaney Belichick, second with a blue by Robert Mead, third with a blue to Cheyenne Rockefeller, fourth with a blue to Cameron Martin. Coming into the ring now, we have our Class 3. So in this class, we have Audrey Belichick with 2 exhibits. We have Tanner Curtin with 2 exhibits, and we have Brooke Bowersox. Just a reminder that the cattlemen are still grilling. They're over by Building C. There is a free will donation. So if you're wanting something, the cattlemen are still grilling. They are over by Building C, and it is a free will donation. Following the class that is currently in the ring, we are going to be selecting a junior doe champion.
Moving on to our next class of does, definitely some similar types and kinds here. Went ahead and started out with the doe with the most meat animal shape over the boulder square top. Really one that brings a lot of pride to the boar breed. Definitely, really start at her muzzle, really feminine about that head, really kind of continues that trend, being higher and tighter from neck to chest floor. And overall, she's just definitely one that, she's going to be able to pass on some really good meat animal shape. I definitely think her offspring are going to be stouter made, heavier muscled, just overall powerfully constructed. Very nice doe. Moving on to our second place. This is another doe that really kind of follows that trend. Ideally, you would like to see this female just overall, be a little bit more powerfully constructed, wider from stifle to stifle, be deeper in that twist. But nonetheless, I think that she's a doe that definitely has a lot of potential to her as well. One that, whether she goes into a commercial or a show operation, is definitely going to be a good brood doe prospect. Moving on to our next doe. This is one of the more fresher handling does, one that you definitely got to appreciate the depth and spring of rib that she has, even for her age. Just today, she just needs to be overall more pounds heavy to move up any higher in the class. Then moving on to our next two does. These are does that you just really got to appreciate just the attractiveness that both of these females have. Ones that really stand on a lot of stuff to bone, even for their age. Just overall today, they just need to have more weight per day of age, be more powerfully constructed, just be built wider from the ground up to move up any higher in the class. But nonetheless, good class. Let's go ahead and give them a nice round of applause.
The results of our class 3, we had first with a purple to Tanner Curtin, second with a purple to Tanner Curtin, third with a blue to Brooke Bowersox, fourth with a blue to Audrey Bulachek, fifth with a blue to Audrey Bulachek. We're now going to be having our championship drive for our junior doe division. From our first class of junior does, we had first being exhibited by Kian Curtis, second by Arlie Lorak. From class 2, we had first being exhibited by Delaney Bulachek and second by Robert Mead. From our third and final class of junior does, we had first being exhibited by Tanner Curtin and our second by Tanner Curtin.
As we move on to our drive for our junior does, definitely a lot of real good quality boars out here, ones that definitely bring some pride to the breed that, just started well over 100 years ago, all the way in South Africa. Definitely think a lot of really good show quality, but more importantly, these are some does that are definitely going to be able to go back and give some profitability to these young exhibitors and really just produce some good quality livestock, whether it's from a buck standpoint or from a doe. I think that there's, like I said, just some really good quality out here. I think there's two does for me that really kind of rise to the top in terms of what we're looking for in the industry, in terms of meat animal shape, but also from a breeding standpoint. So I'm going to go out and select our champion, then our reserve.
The results of our Junior Doe Championship class, we had our champion being exhibited by Tanner Curtin. That was out of Class 3. The trophy is sponsored by Iowa City Boars, and our reserve is shown today by Kean Curtis from Class 1. We're now going to be moving into our Senior Doe division. We will have 2 classes of Senior Does. We will select an overall champion Senior Doe. Then we will be selecting an overall breeding doe. Following that, we will be starting with showmanship. We'll start with senior showmanship, then intermediate, and then junior. Currently in the ring for our Class 1, we have Caitlin Sherlock, we have Carter Tomash, Adeline Tomash, and Robert Mead.
Moving on to our next class of senior does, really kind of broke down to a two-pair class to me. Went ahead and started out with the doe right here in front of me. Just in terms of her capacity, through that middle 1/3, she's the boldest sprung, deepest sided, definitely one that's deepest in the flank as well. She really kind of continues that trend. Definitely one from a feminine standpoint, you really can't go wrong with her. She's definitely got a lot of potential. Ideally, you would probably like to see her be a little bit wider from stifle to stifle, but I think that's being nitpicky on a good quality doe. Moving on to our second place, this is a doe that's definitely a little bit wider based, one that you would like to see just overall be a little bit stouter boned, stand on more substance of bone, and just overall purely just be wider and just have more depth and spring of rib, really to move up any higher in the class. Moving on to our next doe, this is a doe that's definitely a little bit more taller, fronted, growthier made, one that you really got to appreciate the length and skeletal extension of this doe. She's definitely one of the two longer bodied does of the class. Really where she kind of disappoints you is her structure. She gets a little bit weaker in her front pasterns than I'd like to see. Definitely something that I would be curious to watch and see if she's actually going to start breaking down as she gets older. I think if she continues on the route that she's going, though, she'll be a good commercial or show doe, whichever route this young man decides to put her to go. And move on to our next doe. This is definitely one of the more longer skeletal extended does of the class. One that even for her size, she stands on a lot of substance of bone. Kind of the same problem with her. She's a little bit weaker in her front and back pasterns than I like to see. From a structural standpoint, I want my does to be structural, good sounding animals. If they aren't structurally sound, they can't do what they were put on this earth to do, which is reproduce and feed, and to feed us. So you definitely would like to see her stronger in her pasterns and just overall be more powerfully constructed to move up any higher in the class. But overall, still a good class. I think this young lady does a good job of showing this doe as well. Let's go ahead and give this class a nice round of applause.
The results of our class 1 of senior does, we had first with a purple being exhibited by Robert Mead, second with a purple to Caitlin Sherlock, third with a blue to Carter Tomash, fourth with a blue to Adeline Tomash. Coming into the ring now, we have our second class of senior does. Following this class, we will be choosing a champion senior doe. Coming into the ring, we have Sydney Bowers. We have Kelsey Marks. And we have Jamie Sherlock.
Moving on to our next class of does, definitely got a top pair that's really similar in their type and kind. Went and started out with the boldest sprung, deepest sided female right here. One that you get your hands on this female from a market standpoint, what she's going to bring to the table as passing it on to her offspring. Definitely has a lot of meat animal shape and really progressively gets wider as you go down her top. One that you could definitely appreciate from a feminine standpoint, just how feminine she is in that head. Ideally, you would like to see her tie it and higher and tighter from neck to chest floor, but I also think that's being really nitpicky on a good quality doe. Moving on to our next doe. This is one that really has got a lot of length and skeletal extension, one that you can really appreciate how much subset bone that she stands on. Really today you just need to see her be more powerfully constructed. She gets a little bit flatter sided than I would like to see, and overall just need to have her have some more weight per day of age to move up any higher in the class. Moving on to our Spanish appearing doe. This is a doe that you just really got to appreciate the balance. If you cut this individual into thirds, she's one that each third is going to weigh the same. She's really clean through that neck into that chest floor and really deep flanked. You just would like to see her overall be stouter made and heavier muscled to move up any higher in the class. But nonetheless, I think a good class to talk about. Let's go ahead and give the kids a nice round of applause.
The results of our second class of senior does, we had first with a purple being exhibited by Sydney Bowers, second with a blue to Jamie Sherlock, and third with a blue to Kelsey Marks. We'll soon be choosing a champion senior. Following that, we'll select an overall breeding doe. Then we'll be starting with showmanship. We're going to start with senior, then intermediate, then junior. Currently coming back into the ring from class 1, first place went to Robert Mead, second place to Caitlin Sherlock. In class 2, first place went to Sydney Bowers, and second place to Jamie Sherlock. Just a couple things about showmanship before we get to that point. So showmanship can only be won once per grade divisions. The divisions are junior has completed 4th through 6th grade, intermediate 7th through 8th grade, senior 9th through 12th grade. Once an exhibitor wins their age division, the next year they are moved up to the next age division. So for example, if you were junior showman in the past year, you would move up to intermediate showmanship. Once an exhibitor has won the senior division, they will be moved on to the premier showmanship division. Once they reach the premier showmanship division, they are allowed to continue to show in this division for the rest of their 4-H and FFA career.
So we start our drive for our senior does. Definitely some does that are a little bit, more mature in their age and definitely in their time in their life. Definitely some does nonetheless that are definitely going to be able to go back, whether it's a show operation or to a commercial, and definitely going to be able to breed some reproduce some good quality offspring, whether it's from a buck standpoint or a doe. Definitely some animals that definitely really do a good job of, really kind of bringing some pride to the South African boar breed. I think both of these does really have a good long life ahead of them and definitely some good potential to breed some good profitability. So I'm going to go out and select my champion and then my reserve.
The results for our senior doe, we had first place being exhibited by Robert Mead. That came out of the first class of senior does, and our reserve goes to Sydney Powers out of our second class. The trophy for the senior doe division is sponsored by Steve's Farm Supply. We're now going to select a grand champion breeding meat goat. So this will be our junior does and senior does. So once they start coming in, I'll announce who those are. Coming into the ring, we have our champion meat goat junior doe being exhibited by Tanner Curtin, our reserve champion in that division by Kean Curtis. For the champion meat goat senior doe is exhibited today by Robert Mead, our reserve by Sydney Bowers. The trophy for the Grand Champion Meat Goat is sponsored by the Lorak family, and the Reserve Champion Trophy is sponsored by the John Clausen Memorial.
Let's go ahead and give all of our doe exhibitors a nice round of applause. I know that the quantity numbers may not be where people want them, but the quality sure is. And I'm a firm believer in quality over quantity because really, ideally, the whole business of what we're in is profitability. That's why the South African boar is such a great breed. So, you know, a lot of really good quality wethers and does in this show. I think all of these kids did a very good job of showing these animals as well. Definitely some, you know, really high level show quality animals out here that whether they go back into a commercial or show stock operation are definitely going to bring some good quality livestock and just really kind of bring some profitability to the industry as a whole. Without further ado, I'm going to go out and select our champion, and then I'll select our reserve.
Our Grand Champion Meat Goat today is exhibited by Robert Mead and our reserve by Tanner Curtin.
Let's go and give our seniors a nice round of applause. Whenever I do showmanship, you can ask anybody that's ever been to one of the fairs that I've judged at. This, to me, is the most important part of showing, hence why it's called showmanship. With this is where really the foundation's built. It's not at the Iowa State Fair. It's not at, Grand Platte, Nebraska, or anywhere like that. This is it. This is where really you kind of hone your skills and really kind of polish and really kind of perfect what you're doing. I'm a firm believer in that showmanship can move you up from 5th to 3rd, 4th to 2nd, just purely by you showing the good parts of that animal off and then really kind of trying your best to hide the not so good parts. That's really what a showman is. One thing I told all of these kids to make sure that we keep eye contact with the judge, smile. I know it's cliche, but it does mean a lot, especially when you get up to a national level. And then just making sure that we're learning the anatomy of the goat and just really kind of learning terminology. I think all these kids did a very good job. I think there's really kind of 2 individuals that really kind of rose to the top for me. So I'm going to go out and select my champion and my reserve.
Our champion senior goat showman this year is Avery Shalla, and our reserve champion is Caitlin Martin. Just a reminder as people are getting ready to leave today that we need to make sure that you clean up all the areas around where your animals have been. So whether that's out in the barn or whether that's out and around on the grounds, please make sure you take some time and pick up everything up behind you.
Let's go ahead and give our intermediates a nice round of applause. A lot of real good showmen out here. Definitely, different levels of experience, but nonetheless, all of these individuals do a very good job of showing their animal. Big things I told them again was just make sure we're keeping eye contact, and to just really kind of open it up, showing that animal's chest floor, especially whenever it's really a strong point. You want to see how built wide from the ground up these animals are. Real good indicator is in that chest floor. So even on the market side, I always opened up whenever I showed. It's just something that I did, and because I want to be able to show the good qualities of that animal. I think, like I said, all of these kids did a very good job. I'm going to go out and select my champion and then my reserve.
Our champion intermediate meat goat showman today is Carter Tomash, and our reserve champion is Delaney Bulachek. The champion intermediate goat showmanship trophy and reserve is sponsored by Johnson County 4-H. Currently coming into the ring, we have our final class of the day. We have our junior showmanship class. The winner of our champion for today's junior showmanship will not only be receiving a trophy, but they'll also be receiving a goat showing starter kit sponsored by Tyson's. The champion junior meat goat showmanship is sponsored by Lucky Star Farm, and the reserve champion by Johnson County 4-H.
Let's go ahead and give our juniors a nice round of applause. I think there's a lot of good potential out here. Very good kids in terms of their questions. I think they do a very good job of answering my questions and really are knowledgeable about the industry as well. Big things I told all of them, just make sure that you try your best to switch sides. I want to be able to, keep that animal in between the exhibitor and the judge, just so, you can just show off all the good parts of that animal. And then just making sure to smile, keep eye contact, just kind of the bare necessities. I think all of these kids, like I said, nonetheless did a very good job. I'm going to go out and select my champion and then my reserve.
The results of our junior showmanship, we had junior showmanship being won by Cheyenne Rockefeller and our reserve by Jamie Sherlock. This concludes our 2020 Johnson County Fair Meat Goat Show.